What's going on, everybody? It is Travis here with the NPCs, and it is time for another weekly news roundup. It is October 14th, 2022, and tonight we will be talking about Ubisoft's Project U getting leaked in a developer video. Can't find the video anymore, but we do have some details on exactly what was shared in that video itself. We've also got news about Meta and the Quest Pro finally being announced after all the different leaks and details being shared out about it. We got more on that in tonight's news. And of course, we've also got Phil Spencer, CEO of Xbox, who happened to, maybe leak Project Keystone in one form or another. We'll talk about that too. That and all the others on tonight's Weekly News Roundup. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPC's Weekly News Roundup for the week of November 20th, 2020. It is Friday. It is, where's my date? It's September 18th. 2020 here to our first story, and this is actually breaking news for all of us right now here too. Figured this is a kind of a big one to cover, of course, with who it is. Joined via Discord by Kyle because we're in the midst of a pandemic still, and of course everything is all kinds of crazy. So this thing is a chocker. I mean,
yeah, it's a beast.
It's huge. Doing that we had the Resident Evil stuff, that they were successful with Castlevania. Welcome to another NPC's Weekly News Roundup. And it's the news time. I am joined, of course, by Kyle via Discord. Kyle, hello.
What's up?
Man. And that's right, we're live, we're up and running, we're back. Welcome again, everybody. Weekly News Roundup for October 14th, 2022. I'm Travis. If you don't know who I am, then I guess I'm making a mistake somewhere in some form or another. And if you don't know who that guy is, that's Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
Hello.
Kyle.
What's up?
Dude, we've been off for a week or so, I guess. You know, we're kind of hitting these weird lulls sometimes with doing these things or having other stuff that just pops up. So, hey, there's been a lot that's going on, but we're focusing at least on this week's news, right?
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a lot to talk about especially. But let's hop right into it because I don't know about you, but do we really need another shooter? I guess Ubisoft thinks we do. Of course, they had already announced that this game was coming out. Project U is what they called it. But we didn't have any other details besides some concept art and that they had put out about it. But there was no details other than just to show it was a shooter. Well, a video leaked out earlier this week talking about or at least showing off Project U in some capacity. It wasn't a lot of content that they actually showed off from the game itself. It was mostly developers talking and then little snippets of the video actually coming out. So referencing this article here from Video Games Chronicle, what we actually got to see mostly was just the developers talking about their experiences with building it so far and what they're trying to incorporate. But a lot of like the things that actually did take place with seeing things in the game dealt more specifically with like some of the environments that you're interacting in and some of the a little bit of combat. Like I think the total time of the video was like maybe 2 minutes, and the amount of game content you actually saw in there was probably less than 20 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But with what Ubisoft's been trying to do, I mean, I guess this is what this is supposed to be like, is this is supposed to be some sort of like session-based co-op shooter is what this is supposed to be. So I don't know what they necessarily mean by session-based. I don't know if that's where you just hop in and just play a co-op shooter with your buddy or whoever.
So it's like a deathmatch game, right?
I guess so.
Like every other multiplayer shooter out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a new concept is what they're calling it, though. But, you know, for the little bit I saw, I mean, you know, maybe it's a good thing for Ubisoft to kind of be going back to the drawing board to look at new things that they can create because, I mean, what do they got on their plate right now other than Rainbow Six Siege getting updates still? I don't even know where Rainbow Six Extraction sits. To be perfectly honest, everything they've been doing shooter-wise has truly been the Tom Clancy saga and then everything that they're working on in the Assassin's Creed universe. You know, it's I know they got other things, but like if you really look at like the shooter side of it, I mean, Ubisoft does kind of need a refresh, don't they?
I think so. I think so. Of course, I was gonna say, yeah, they do the Far Cry series, but once again, that's a series that I feel like is getting very stale. I mean, it's gone kind of like in a weird path from the original story. Not necessarily that's a bad thing, but I don't know. It's gotten to be very samey too. Just bigger open worlds, same quests. They've even started including some of the same characters in the game. So
Yeah, and then of course all of their advancements into NFTs and all
oh
of that
dear, yeah,
involvement too. So that obviously is probably going to take precedent in this game in some capacity. Like, who knows? Maybe as the
yeah.
co-op part of it, you'll explore and you'll find some area to unlock, and you get an NFT in there, and then hooray for whatever that brings you. But and needless to say, it's not just some sort of boilerplate. Hey, we're working on this game. There's at least been some stuff that came out with it. Compared to what is the other one they're working? Skull and Bone. Is it Skull and Bone or Skull and Bones?
Uh, yeah, Skull and Bones. I
That's it.
think it is Skull and Bones,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I let's face it, that one's almost how many years too late because that was actually based off the Assassin's Creed Black Flag gameplay and engine. At least initially, that's where the whole concept came from. So, is it going to hit? Is it going to miss the mark? I mean, is it too late for that game? It's hard to say. We've had what is it from Xbox for how many years now?
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that title now. But it's like Microsoft's one of their big titles.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm
Gonna
drawing
have
a
to
blank
help
on
me
it
out
too.
here.
Yeah, sorry, I can't be more help on
Um,
that one right now. While you're looking that up, though, I'll at least cover a couple other things. So
yeah.
it looks like the studio within Ubisoft that's going to be working on this is Ubisoft Annecy, and they are the ones who worked on Steep and Riders Republic. Outside of some contribution stuff to Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, and The Division. So it looks like that this is just another one of their core titles that they're going to be working on right now. Um, and it looks like what Project U here, so this is one part of it from the article, it says that Project U stands for Unite. So Project Unite, I guess, if whatever, that's pretty open enough to actually figure out or to try to guess what it could actually lead to. I was going to try to bring up the video, but it looks like the Twitter account that actually posted the video has since completely disappeared. Even the link in the article just goes to absolutely nothing now. So yeah, kind of a
That's
shame, at least
weird.
in that. Well, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if it was a
Of course,
there was
yeah,
a
they're
takedown
trying to
notice or
cover their
something else.
tracks.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That or something else happened. But I tried searching for the video to bring it up. But again, mostly developer talk, a little bit of stuff within the game, just very little. And I'm sure there's mirrors and other copies of it out there. I just could not find it. So if you're curious, the internet's out there. Go have fun searching for it.
And it was Sea of Thieves that I was drawing a blank on, by the way.
Ah, yes, Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, it's a slightly different concept, more cartoony. But I mean, let's face it, Sea of Thieves has been around for years now, open, for pretty much anyone that has Game Pass to just go and play, and it's been successful. It's a lot of fun, and they've been constantly updating it. So, I mean, it's cool that they want to redo that gameplay, but I don't know if it's too late. That's the mark that I was trying to make.
Yeah, and it's with everybody trying to revitalize stuff and change stuff in the shooter space anyway. Like we see Doctor Disrespect doing what he's doing with Midnight Society and whatever whatever Dead Drop's going to be. With Battle Royale kind of hit that mature state, especially. It's they're going to have to experiment and try to find different ways to bring people in because Ubisoft already didn't have the best experience trying to come up with some sort of Battle Royale style experience, which they had. I can't remember the name of it, but it's gone. So we'll have to just watch and see what they could potentially come out with.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, how about we move on to something that we at least have some certainty on, and that is on Starfield. So Todd Howard on, I believe this was either Wednesday or No, it was Tuesday. Excuse me. Held Todd Howard, lead for Bethesda, is going to be hosting new video series where he'll take questions. The series is going to be called Constellation Questions, and it's just a whole series. They're going to be answering fan questions about what's going on in Starfield, at least getting people ready for when that game drops. So a couple things there he talked about is, first off, about how wordy the game is actually going to be. The game is going to have, originally there was a prediction from Todd Howard that he said there was going to be around 150,000 lines of dialogue. They just passed, according to him, 250,000.
Good Lord.
Yeah, 250,000
That's a
lines.
lot of recording time.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So I wonder how many voice actors like had to do multiple characters and such though too, just to kind of help build that up. But I mean, that's pretty expansive and pretty ripe for bugs, knowing how things like Skyrim and Fallout go. So, you imagine that many lines of dialogue, how many lines of or how many lines of code are going to have to go into that, and all the chaos that's going to bring to the world of Starfield.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that ship glitch through a planet and blow me up into a million pieces or something. I don't know. So carrying on, of course, he went on to talk about the RPG's character trait system as well. And I have another article up here from Polygon. We're referencing one from Kotaku here, talking about what some of those example traits are. So the first one is Dream Home. You own a customizable house on a peaceful planet, but must pay 50,000 credit mortgage. 50,000 credit mortgage each week. Extrovert. You use less oxygen if you have a companion, but more if you're alone. Freestar Collective Settler. Gain special dialogue options and better rewards from certain factions, but higher crime bounties with others. Hero Worshipped. A rando fan of yours will show up to bother you frequently, but will bring gifts. Introvert. More endurance while alone, less when you have companions. Kid Stuff. You can visit your parents at their home, but 10% of your money will automatically go to them. Neon Street Rat. Gain access to special dialogue options and better rewards on Neon. Crime bounties with other factions are increased. Raised Enlightened. Gain access to a chest full of items in the House of the Enlightened, but lose access to another chest. Raised Universal. Gain access to a chest full of items in the Sanctum Universum, but lose access to another chest. So that even reveals some other things, that apparently you have parents in this game. You also, there's also a either planet or some sort of city or space station called Neon, which I guess is, all I imagine is Night City floating in space.
And that's what I'm kind of picturing.
Yeah, it really, seriously, that's what I'm getting in my head right now. Yeah. I'm just imagining that. And then talking about House of the Enlightened and then the Sanctum Universum, which makes me think you're going to have two or maybe more like government style factions, like one that maybe is more towards like the religious arm of it versus more of the political arm. So I wonder if that's going to end up playing into it. Like I imagine stuff like Fallout, especially like Fallout New Vegas, where you still had the Brotherhood of Steel, you still had Caesar's Legion, you had the NCR, you had other ways that things could line up. You even had Mr. House as well too. But even so, while those traits are available, Todd Howard went on to say that players can remove the traits, though, to get rid of their negative or positive effects by completing a quest or activity. So it means that you're not going to be hard-coded with those traits. But what do you think about a lot of that stuff, though, Kyle? I mean, we're talking about 250,000 lines of dialogue. We're already talking about some of these example traits here that, it's like offer you those bonuses, but have consequences instead of just straight up bonuses like we've seen in previous Bethesda games. The ideas of some of these other worlds and organizations and factions we're probably going to end up running into. I mean, what do you think so far? I mean, you going to pick up Starfield? Is this one on your list? Where are you at with it?
I mean, that one's going to be on Game Pass, I'm going to assume, because it's a Bethesda game. So I'll play it on Game Pass. I see no reason not to. Beyond that, picking it up, if it plays well, I might pick it up for my Steam Deck. But a lot of the Bethesda RPGs, I honestly get so sidetracked in side quests that I almost never finish a campaign. I don't think I've ever actually finished an Elder Scrolls campaign. So that's just saying something. But that being said, I have tons of time into Elder Scrolls games and Fallout games, and I'm very interested in it, and the fact that it's got so many dialogue lines, and obviously they want you to have the you know predetermined like cookie cutter beginning that you get in pretty much any of their games, but
Mm-hmm.
this also gives you the freedom to show you that you're gonna have a lot of freedom, by
Mm-hmm.
saying that, well, you start with these traits, but you can just totally nix them if you do a mission.
Yeah, at least it offers some of that flexibility. But what I find more curious than anything is like, let's say, for example, that house trait where you get a house, but you owe 50,000 credits on it. Like, what
hmm
happened? How do you get rid of that one? Do you sell the house? Does the trait disappear if the house like somehow like blows up? Like if you piss off an enemy faction and they go and raid your house, like, do you get an insurance payout?
Yeah.
Like you think of those
Do,
granular
yeah.
mechanics of what's going to
Do you
happen.
win a lottery, or do
Hmm.
you I don't know, do you pay off your mortgage lender? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, because it says you have to pay that amount per week, but it doesn't say up to a certain amount. So it really drives you to keep busy. But it seems like by having a house, you have some sort of like, I'm assuming, like waypoint at least that you can get back to like stow away equipment and gear that maybe you're not using at that point in time.
Yeah, no, that's totally for I'm assuming people like me that like to get on there and hoard crap. Like I know I had a problem that even if I played on an Elder Scrolls game, if I wasn't playing someone that used soul gems, I'd still hoard soul gems in my house.
Oh God.
Figured, I can sell them later on or something.
I was the one who tried to hoard wheels of cheese in
Oh
Skyrim.
yeah.
Yeah, that didn't go very well. But even so, uh how long though do you think? You're thinking 250,000 lines of dialogue, even those few traits that have been listed there, and the ability for those traits to be removed or at least negated or in some way or form by just simple quest completion. How long do you think the game is going to be in hours?
Probably on the minimum side between 32 and 50 hours. But on the like completionist side, you're probably looking at 300 plus.
Okay. Yeah, cuz
Just the way everything is sounding, just how massive I'm picturing it to be.
okay. Yeah, cuz I went and looked it up on howlongtobeat.com and I went and looked up Skyrim because
hmm
Skyrim always has to come up. But the main story for Skyrim, and this is the original release, no DLC, 34 hours. Main story plus some extras. It's like, I don't know exactly what the extras detail, but that's 109 hours. Completionist, 100%ing the game, is 232 hours. So the
Yeah.
idea of about 300 hours is probably close. I'm going to wager over that. I'm going to say probably about 350 to 400 depending
hmm
on like the way the content actually evolves. Because you think like 250,000 lines, a good chunk of those are probably like more of like the repeatable lines in the sense of like the non-player characters you'll walk by that'll just say
Oh, I'm
something,
sure.
you know. Uh but needless to say though, I'm betting definitely at over 350 hours at least. I that's about
Yeah.
me. I mean, 300 might be right. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but
Yeah, and well, I did say 300 plus. I don't want to
there you go.
necessarily cap that just because I feel like 300 could be on the short side for a completionist on that style of game, with
Yeah.
how massive they're talking the scope. So
Yeah, that's perfectly fair then. So, like I said, there is that these are videos that Todd Howard's going to be doing. May also include the rest of the staff out there at Bethesda. Those who are contributing to Starfield right now. Do not have any time frames on when these videos are going to be getting released. However, it looks like they're going to be released weekly. So, best guess is if this video dropped then on Tuesday, maybe Tuesdays of every week is when we're going to be seeing these. But we keep an eye out, and anything that actually looks really interesting for this, especially, uh, we'll make sure to report on in the news roundups as well. But we're going from one fantasy world to the virtual fantasy world here. We're going to be talking about VR headsets. Specifically, Meta has finally gone ahead and revealed the Meta Quest Pro. Now, this headset has not been a secret. This headset leaked out even to the point where somebody found a hotel room that ended up having like 4 or 5 pre-release versions of this just sitting in the room waiting for them for some weird reason, and the person who left them there had to scramble to go get them back. So this has not necessarily been the best kept secret for Meta since at least, since it even became like an idea in the first place. But yes, they did announce it this week. And Kyle, do you see that price on there?
Yeah.
$1,500.
$1,500.
Yeah.
What the heck? But to be fair, Meta has stated that they want this quest, or that this, not necessarily they want this quest, but this quest is tailored more towards like a corporate environment. It's not necessarily your gaming headset. That being said, I don't doubt there's going to be tons of gamers that are going to want their hands on it.
No, I'm also kind of thinking the same way, because I mean the specs are pretty good. At least it is another wireless headset though, so similar to the Quest 2, but it's got definitely more hardware, or definitely like more oomph underneath the hood. So it's got a Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 Plus chip, because they did announce a continued partnership between Qualcomm and Meta. 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, so no storage models above or below. It's going to be flat out 256 gigabytes, and a 90 hertz refresh rate. And what was the other thing too? It was the actual resolution of the screens here. So they have a per eye resolution of 1800 by 1920. Which is a higher pixel density than the Valve Index, which is 1440 by 1600. However, it's still lower than the Vive Pro 2, which is 2448 by 2448 per eye. So it's definitely got a good resolution, especially in the scope of like the wireless headset space anyway. But that's also a pretty narrow space as is. Even so with it, one of the bigger problems, I guess, that a lot of people have been talking about, I don't know if you've read up on any of this, Kyle, but I guess a lot of people have been talking about it review-wise, have been saying it's the battery life is the problem.
Really?
Yeah, they're saying that a battery will last about 60 to 90 minutes on a full charge.
Yeah, that's pretty poor. I mean, looking at the Steam Deck, I mean, even some of the games that are like, top tier, like God of War, I can get like an hour and a half to 2 hours, if I tailor the specs down. But even running at high specs, it seems like I can get at least almost an hour and a half. But man, just 60 minutes? Holy crap.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially, it's going to depend, I think, on like what type of game it is that you're playing there too. Like the Quest 2, for example, has a battery life of 2 to 3 hours.
Did they say what kind of battery they're using in it?
Like in regards to battery, you're talking like the size of the battery. I don't think they did. I know there was a lot of talk about battery, but I don't think they talked about the actual battery size. If it is anywhere here, I'll have to go and let me see if I can actually find anything here on their actual website. Because I did see a lot of the specs, but I just don't remember anything about the actual battery size. But the other thing is that they have announced some accessories for it. They have not announced any, like, I don't think I actually saw an accessory similar to the Quest 2 that snaps on to provide additional battery life. But let's see here. Where are those specs? Okay, well, there we go. Oh, tech specs. How about if I just click the link that says tech specs there, Kyle? So it has... does it even say? No, it does not have anything about the battery in here. Yep, it does not have anything about the battery. Yeah, it doesn't. So that kind of sucks. But don't worry, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that like iFixit will get their hands on one soon, and we'll see a teardown of it, and we'll be able to get those specs soon enough.
This is the way for Meta to tie you back down to the wall.
Yeah, that's very true. But one of the other things though that they actually have here in the specs that they didn't that like the Engadget article didn't list out is that similar to what Sony's doing with the PSVR 2 is that there are apparently cameras inside the eyepiece portion of the headset too that might allow for foveated rendering. I think they're looking at using those more for like catching the facial expressions because one of the big things with Meta right now is the metaverse that they're working on. You know, there's that Meta Horizons game I think that they have, and
Right.
by being able to catch the facial expressions, at least like the eye expressions in that too. You know, like seeing eyebrows move, seeing the way that your eyes are moving in that will help with, I guess, providing some emotion to your supposedly emotionless avatar in there. But
Well, and
they can't even get
does
anybody
this one
they can't even get anybody to play this game. I don't know if you saw that or not too, and it's not even a part of this article, but there's so few people that are actually using Horizons that Meta is actually making their employees use it to conduct business.
Oh, wow.
Like there's a requirement that they have to spend X amount of time in Horizons actually doing meetings and collaborations and stuff. So
they're just like, this program doesn't pay for itself.
We're going to pay you to not work from home, but you need to come into the office and we're going to make you throw on a headset so it looks like you're not in the office.
Right.
Yeah.
We want you to come in and conduct business with people, but while you're here, you're going to be locked in a room away from people on a headset talking to people.
No kidding. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's so strange. Doesn't this one also have like outward facing sensors that like are supposed to capture your like parts of the lip movements to be more accurate when you're talking and stuff too?
I think there are some, but I don't think they're as prevalent as
I could be
like
wrong
strapping a
on
magic leap to your headset.
Right.
But even so, a couple other things I'll talk about, though, that came out of the announcement more specifically, too, is that there's collaboration now between Microsoft and Meta to bring Xbox cloud streaming to the headset. So if you want to be able to play Xbox cloud streaming games on the Quest, I don't know if it's going to be just the Quest Pro. It might also be the Quest 2. But you'll be able to stream Xbox cloud gaming through there and then play games through the headset, which might be cool, might not be. I don't know really yet. And then, of course, further collaboration with Microsoft to bring Teams into it as well, too, which I don't know how to feel about that one yet. I don't know. I really don't know. Excuse me. But yeah, so the headset's out now. The headset's going for $1,500. But if you don't want that headset, there's plenty of other things out there to buy, like 3 Xbox Series X's. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Or 2 Xbox Series X's and a PS5, or 2 PS5s and an Xbox Series X, or 3 PS5s.
I think there's
or one
another
RTX
gaming
4090 or 4080, whatever it is.
Yeah, or there's another gaming headset that beside you could buy an Index for 1,000, or there's one that's like I think 1,400 or 1,600 that it does like 8K gaming.
Yeah, you'd be able to buy the headset and you can get a game probably with it too, versus just buying this.
Right.
Alone. Anyway.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. But let's move on here to our next story on the list anyway. And it's talking about if Phil Spencer may have revealed something. So we have now come to know that Phil Spencer likes to subtly reveal things as he's doing say interviews, as he's doing videos for announcements or anything of that sort. We had a previous video of Phil Spencer where he was talking about something with the Xbox Series X, and he actually had an Xbox Series S hiding right behind him, basically in plain sight, that nobody was able to catch on to and see. We had the mascot for Kojima Productions actually on his shelf, which led a lot of people to believing that he was working with that he was going to be working with Hideo Kojima and their studio on something. And of course, we've got Death Stranding coming out on Xbox here soon, and several other things that have gone on. Well, back on the 10th, he put up a picture with a statue of Vault Boy celebrating Fallout's 25th anniversary. However, some eagle-eyed people on Twitter happened to catch that he may have also revealed a prototype for Project Keystone. And if you remember, Kyle, Project Keystone is the streaming device they want to make specifically for Xbox cloud gaming. Can you find it in the picture?
Oh, yeah. I see it right away.
Yeah, and it's great because it just directly, like, as soon as I cut over to it here on the stream, it's like centered right there on the screen. But yes.
Right.
Yeah, so that supposedly is it. And based on what we can just see from here alone, it looks very close to some of the renders that we've actually seen come out of Project Keystone over the last year. I mean, I think it was probably about this time last year that we started talking about this, right?
Oh, I believe so. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's right there, just clear as day. And, I mean, we get a little bit of detail with it, of course, though, too. But Phil Spencer's been known for doing stuff like this. And usually sometimes when we start seeing things like this, it usually means that we could potentially be close to an actual announcement. And because the holiday season is just around the corner, Kyle, this would be a pretty good $50 stocking stuffer for some people.
It would be, especially, being that size. But, I mean, they're, of course, they've talked about it. It is a potential prototype, and this is one potential iteration. I mean, they talked about it, being a puck at one point, or just a stick. They've also talked about a box, similar to like the Firecube TV. So I mean, if it's something this small or potentially this small, that would be amazing. That would be so accessible to more people. I feel like, especially with some of the advancements coming along in cloud gaming.
Yeah, and one of the things I find funny about it though is that it's like, for the way it looks like how we got like the SNES Classic and the NES Classic. It looks like they took the Xbox Series S and just shrank it down. So it's like you got the Xbox Series S Classic or something. It's just funny to see that, like, for the size of it. But for what it needs to do, it makes sense that it would end up being something that's easy enough to, stow away somewhere, especially if you could like mount it behind your TV and play games off of it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you were right though, talking about the prototype part anyway too, because the official Xbox account the same day went ahead and replied directly to Phil Spencer saying, "Now, what did we say about putting old prototypes on your shelf, boss?"
Yeah.
So, it's hey, good on them. Like, there we go right there. Yeah. So I find it funny, of course, that it's like the Xbox team is, playing along with it though too, because that really is like what they have kind of like come to do now as of late, especially. Like, I've seen a lot of it on Twitter. But the fact though that it's there means that normally Phil Spencer only usually does stuff like that anyway when it comes closer to an announcement of some type, at least what we've seen in the past couple years. So it makes me think that we could see an announcement maybe sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, other than just the prototype stuff, going back to the drawing board on things, I feel like we're going to see something here very soon.
Yeah, or at least an announcement that, they've actually taken full consideration of the project and they're looking to, get everything set for actual retail in the near future. That would be some nicer news. You look at some of the things that are happening with like current generation TV, or maybe not necessarily current anymore, but a lot of the like Samsung TVs and stuff, they're not going to support some video services now. I want to say Hulu and Netflix are being dropped from Samsung TVs if you have a smart TV. So you're going to eventually need a stick at some point that, the app compatibility is just going to fall through the floor for some of your TVs. So something this small to just be as an accessory, that opens up everything more. That would just be awesome.
Agreed. And I would say, like, right off the bat, especially with this, is that I would be happier if there were TVs out there, like newer, like let's say it's a 4K TV, as long as it could do like 120 hertz refresh rate in that'd be
Hmm.
awesome. Give it to me without the smart functionality. Like,
You
give it
know,
to me without any of that.
and I'd be fine with that too because honestly, they have to have a lot of caveats to put the smart functionality in those TVs, and
Yeah.
oftentimes it's not as smart as you think. A lot of times the sticks are smarter than the TV.
Yeah, especially because like the sticks or the dedicated streaming devices continue to get software updates, whereas the
Hmm.
televisions seem to kind of like fall behind in some of those categories. And it becomes a bit of a hassle when things do end up happening. Like, for instance, like my TV got a software update, I think middle of last year. And since it got that software update, it's had these weird network disconnects and reboots. It's
Yeah,
just weird. It'll just happen, and it's like nothing crazy is happening. It's just watching TV, and there will be
yeah.
issues with watching content through the streaming apps on the TV itself, where they seem like they hesitate video wise. The audio plays just fine, but then the video like has to like speed up to catch up. Like there's a buffer problem, but there hasn't been a new update since then for my TV to even try to fix anything in the first place. Maybe because it is just that old now. Needless to say,
Yeah.
though, yeah, streaming boxes and that have been getting pretty solid updates. So, yeah, maybe we are going to start to see that revolution of going back to just TVs being a TV.
Well, I think part of it is you said it, dedicated streaming device. Once it's that one thing and one thing alone, they have the ability to focus on the one thing and do it well. That's when the device is successful. Let it be
Yeah.
just a TV.
Yeah, exactly. Just let it do that. Just that's
Yeah.
all. I've actually struggled just trying to find something like that. And the only thing I can actually find that meets some of that criteria is a computer monitor. But
Yeah, or you have to spend, $3,000 to $4,000 because a lot of higher end TVs that, are gonna have your 8K functionality, some of them they don't put that crap in there because it takes away from the good stuff.
yeah. Yeah, but I may have to just acquiesce and just see if I can actually find a gaming monitor that's big enough but inexpensive and is also 4K and can handle 120 hertz refresh rate though too.
Right.
But that's a first world problem that I don't want to worry about at this time because what I do want to worry about here is the last story in the main news for this week. And that is Valve potentially trademarking a new video game title. You sent this to me, Kyle. So talk a little bit
Yeah.
about this. What exactly could we be seeing here with Neon Prime?
So, I honestly I sent you the article and I didn't have a chance to read it.
Man, what the
But I know a little bit about it. So, it's kind of a mystery at the moment. But of course, Valve registered the trademark DM Prime. It's supposed to allude to a new brand and a new video game IP from the creators of Half-Life and Portal, of course, as well as the people that developed the Steam Deck. So I can hope for maybe some functionality with that in the future. But the name was registered with the United States Trademark Office and was noticed by Reddit user. It's aired. Yeah, I think yeah, it's
Okay.
Air ND. I don't know. And appears to be for a video game. And the means despite. Yeah, basically it just comes down to it. It seems like it's going to be a new game, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of information on it. I mean, mostly just speculation at this point from the way it sounds.
Yeah, based on some of the speculation here, even from the same person who shared out the tweet regarding the trademark, is that over on Reset Era's forums, that a user by the name of Final Flame, who apparently used to be a developer from Valve at one point in time, is that it could very well be a FTL-like shipbuilding game. So FTL being faster than light. And for people who may not remember exactly what that game is, and honestly, for the Steam Deck, it'd probably end up being a pretty cool game to have on there. But this is some screen caps, though, of faster than light, where you'd be responsible for not necessarily like building out your ship, like where rooms would be. Well, no, you'd be responsible for where rooms were at and where some other things were too. But as you play through, you'd have different areas that you'd cross. Like you'd have to pick and choose the different paths that you go on to actually complete the different things that you needed to. And of course, as you progress through the system, you would just start to get to harder levels too. It would just get progressively difficult.
And there's not a lot of Steam first-party games for, or Valve first-party games, I should say, for the Steam Deck. I mean, they produced Aperture Desk Job, but beyond that, it's not like they've put out any killer apps that are specifically for the deck. I mean, probably one of the most popular ones out there that was $3 for a long time and is now $5 since it hit major release is Vampire Survivor. And let's face it, that one has been on Game Pass since I think about the time it released officially, or it went into the like beta time period or early access, I should say. But and before Aperture Desk Job, what have they really put out since since Portal 2? Not a ton.
No, there's really been a lot of emphasis on the updates for things that they already have. So things like CS:GO and Dota and of course Team Fortress 2, even though that kind of got the shaft, did get some updates recently though, or at least in the last couple of months to address some concerns that came up from the community. But you are right though, is that it's like for actual like development of games themselves, of like true hardcore games, like really the last one was Half-Life Alyx, and you're talking about that game being what now, 3 or 4 years old?
Yeah, and then prior to that it was Portal 2.
Yeah.
And then, after Alyx, it was Aperture Desk Job. And let's face it, Aperture Desk Job's a tech demo. It does a really awesome job showcasing all the features of the deck. But why can't they put out a game that, is like, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours long, maybe 12 for a completionist that, utilizes all those features of the deck. So I can play something that, is worthwhile, that, uses the gyroscope, uses the touch sensors on the mouse pads, allows me to use the touch screen, that makes a reason for me to have sensors in the analog sticks. I want something that makes all this stuff necessary, that it doesn't allow me to play for more than 2 hours or whatever, depending on the game I'm playing.
Yeah, I don't know what Valve is actually going to be doing with this potentially. It could just be reserving something for later on down the line that maybe they even have no intention of using. There's enough trademarks that companies put out there that they don't even use. And the biggest offenders of those are like Microsoft, Apple, and Google. They're always doing that type of stuff just to kind of hold their place because they have an idea, but it may never come to fruition. And honestly, with Valve, it's a little tough to see them squeezing out some type of new game that even could hit that potential 8-hour to 10-hour mark right now.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it is a pipe dream. It's just really something that I'm really hopeful for, because I would like another game that does utilize all the features. I thought Desk Job was really, really cool, and really I haven't played anything like it since. And I don't think I have anything on my Steam Deck that actually uses the touchscreen, unless I can use it with Vampire Survivor, and why would I want to do that?
Absolutely. Like, it kind of it kind of puts you into a weird spot, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
But that's where we actually wrap up here until we know more info about whatever Valve's doing. That's where we have to wrap up on that. And where we wrap up on the main part of the news for tonight, and we move on to our favorite section, because we get to hear Kyle talk even more. That's right. It's the quest markers with Kyle. Are you ready to
Yay.
go, Kyle?
Yeah, I am.
Dude, all right. So what do we got going on in the quest markers this week?
So, for the first marker for this week, Blizzard apologizes to players for issues with Overwatch 2 and gives out a free skin, double XP, and a weapon charm. Of course, due to the rocky launch, Blizzard's trying to essentially do right by the fans with some of the things, including a cursed Captain Reaper legendary skin, a health pack weapon charm, and a double XP weekend or weekends potentially, with no upcoming dates as of yet. This is in tandem with the announcement of the first Overwatch event, Junkenstein's Revenge, the Wrath of the Bride. The event is set to start October 25th and end November 8th. Even with the free stuff upcoming, the event and the game still has been plagued by bugs. And of course, we did have a DDoS attack within the first 3 days, so it knocked out most of the American servers. I know you and I have played on the European servers, but a lot of players were having issues connecting, and it was saying that there were 100,000 people ahead of you, and after sitting on there for 45 minutes, it would fail to connect, and it would still give you another message screen that there were 200,000 people ahead of you.
Hooray.
And then there was the issue most recently with Torbjorn and Bastion getting attempting to be turned off, and half the right roster accidentally got turned off. So even if you had paid or played the previous Overwatch and had access to that roster, you lost everything temporarily. As far as, being able to use those characters, with some characters randomly showing up for some people in some matches. Now that seems to be fixed, but that was all due to an ultimate issue with Torbjorn and Bastion. But now I don't know. Is it too little, too late? I feel like we've already had the major delay with the single player, so we'll see down the line. But look forward to the upcoming Junkenstein event this coming 25th through the 8th. I'll see you on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Meta acquires devs behind Iron Man and Resident Evil 4 VR in our next bit of news. With the Meta announcement, Meta announced the acquisition of 3 VR studios during the Connect conference this week. The studios include Camouflage, the developer of Iron Man VR, Twisted Pixel, developers of Wilson's Heart and Path of the Warrior, and Armature Studio, developer for Resident Evil 4 VR, of course being the port. The interesting acquisition has to be Camouflage, given that Iron Man was exclusive for an exclusive title for PSVR. However, with PSVR 2 not being compatible or backwards compatible with the original PSVR titles, is this maybe a move for Camouflage to transfer over to a system that doesn't require you to reprogram a game every time there's a new upgrade, or making the system more fluid? Or is it maybe just Sony bypassing them? It's hard to say. It's just possible that it's easier for them to work on the Meta Studio, but there are no dates for any of the acquisitions as of yet to be complete, just that they have been announced and are in the works currently. And moving into our last bit of news, in a more ironic point, Valve accidentally showed a Switch emulator on the Steam Deck promo and quickly took it down. But in a promo video for the Steam Deck, publisher Valve accidentally showed a Nintendo Switch emulator on their handheld in the launcher, unfortunately. The icon for the popular Switch emulator, Yuzu, was spotted by Twitter user Nibelian, who immediately screen capped the portion of the video and posted it online. Soon after, the video was taken down and replaced with one where the icon was replaced by Portal 2. It seems that Valve may have been hit with a takedown notice by Nintendo too for the original video, given the marketing and emulator is kinda illegal. However, is it really illegal? Technically, if they're using just their own code, it's fine. And if you're backing up your games, it's fine. So, I mean, that is one thing to consider. But yes, if you are downloading a game illegally to play on a emulator, that is very illegal. So, in that sense, probably don't use the Yuzu app. But if you have a way to rip your Switch titles onto your Steam Deck, maybe it's a fun way to check them out. So, thumbs up to you if you have that ability. But that is it for the last bit of our quest markers for this week. So,
yes, it is. And with that, then, that is it for this week's Weekly News Roundup. Again, it is October 14th, 2022. So thank you so much for joining us for this week. Of course, be sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube, though, if you like what you're seeing here. Of course, this will be converted over to our podcast platform as well. So if you want to be able to take this with you on the go, you missed any of the stories, be sure to go subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform of choice. You can search for us via the NPCs podcast, or go to our homepage, anchor.fm/the-npcs-podcast, and go find a podcast platform that you like that we may be on. We're probably on it, so go and take a look for us there. But of course, with that, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this week's Weekly News Roundup. We'll catch you all next week.
Bye-bye.